Hi guys, today I'll be taking a look at a gaming switch, the TTC Speed Silver. Let's get started. Starting of course with a disclaimer, this review will focus on the older V1 switch, but there is a newer V2 switch available as well. Now, the difference between the two isn't huge. Essentially, the V2 has a tighter tolerance because of a new mold which improves their consistency. Additionally, the V2 switch has anti-oxidation coating on the leaf which should improve their durability. Although it's worth noting that I've never had a switch fail due to oxidation. Maybe you guys have, let me know in the comments. Now, pricing wise, these are £5.30 for 10 switches on AliExpress, placing these in the mid-range. And this is what they look like when disassembled. Feel free to pause the video. Now, let's move on to the switch characteristics. On-center key presses are very smooth with only very minor scratchiness in a couple of switches. Off-center key presses have some slight binding to them, kind of like in the Kale Box Speed Ultimate, but in a much less noticeable fashion. It doesn't affect normal typing at all and is only noticeable on very slow key presses. Overall, these are amongst the smoothest gaming switches out there, directly competing with the Gateron Pro V3 Silver, 8 out of 10. Now, according to TTC, these switches have an actuation force of 45 grams at 1.08mm and a total travel of 3.4mm. Now, if you were listening carefully, I said that these actuate at 1.08mm, which is a very unusual distance for a switch to actuate, and even the force curve shows this. However, in terms of the actual key feel, they definitely don't feel like they actuate at 1.08mm. I strongly believe this is a typo and it's meant to say 1.80 instead, because that would make way more sense. Overall, they're a very consistent, lightly weighted switch with little to no faults, but they just aren't for me. 5 out of 10. Now, sound is a minute mixture of scratchiness, thinness, emptiness, and of course, clackiness in one switch. Or in other words, they're alright. Overall, they aren't terrible nor amazing, but they are slightly better than average. 6 out of 10. Now, take a listen and enjoy. Now, many gaming switches aren't designed with typing in mind, obviously, but these performed surprisingly well given its lower actuation point, making typing more comfortable. However, I still found myself making more typos than usual, plus some switches have slightly different actuation points which was hardly noticeable, but it is a sign of QC issues. It's good that they made a V2 to try and solve this. Additionally, as with many lightly weighted switches, these are also not suitable for extended typing sessions, so whilst they are more comfortable compared to its rival, it's still not a switch I would be choosing for typing. Overall, these are essentially a more sensitive red switch with less travel. 5 out of 10. Now for gaming, and you know what? It's solid here, both in fast and slow paced games with very little to no scratchiness or inconsistency, which is pretty good in my book. The only downsides I can really point to are its light weighting, which meant I pressed keys by accident more than usual, although I'm very thankful it doesn't have a high actuation point compared to other speed switches. Overall, this is truly one of the most balanced speed switches around. It pretty much competes with the Gateron Pro V3 Silver, so unless you're an ultra competitive gamer, pick whichever one is the cheapest and have fun. 7 out of 10. In conclusion, it's reasonably priced, reasonably balanced, and reasonably normal for a TTC switch, but that's a welcome change here today. The final score for this switch is 31 out of 50 or 62%, which is nice to see from a gaming switch. And that's the end of the review, and next time, more speed switches. Anyway, until then, take care and goodbye.